The Movies of the Meek, where we watch made-for-TV movies and miniseries so you don't have to. From Gia to Xenon, Hysteria to Sybil, welcome to Movies of the Meek.
Okay, so in the town of Lunar,
All right.
and the town probably just consists of a gas station and a diner.
Yeah.
Trucks come to life.
Yeah.
About 4 trucks come to life, and they terrorize the townsfolk for an hour and a half. And that's it. Nothing happens.
Do you know why they come to life?
No. We never find out why.
You kind of find out why.
Okay.
So during the television broadcasts, which are broadcast on that super shitty cardboard looking television that clearly just has a green screen on it that they're putting a projection of a broadcast over, there are a few broadcasts where you find out that there has been a contamination of some sort of gas in the town.
Yes.
Which
from the truck that exploded.
From the truck that exploded, which the main character Jack says that he thinks that a few weeks ago there was a comet that passed over the town and that it could have drifted off alien particles.
Okay. Yeah.
But they're saying that it was a contamination of some sort of gas.
That's the cover-up.
That's the cover-up.
Because the truck containing the gas was taken over by this force, and that's why it exploded, because the driver was fighting the truck. Remember?
Yeah.
So it wasn't the gas. That was just a cover-up by the government.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start off by saying this is based off of Maximum Overdrive.
It's based off of the short story that Maximum Overdrive is based on.
Okay.
Which is called Trucks.
Okay. So it's even...
Yeah.
It's closer to the original.
It's faithful.
In Maximum Overdrive, were there other things besides trucks that were...
Yeah, there were so many things besides trucks
I
that
remember,
were affected.
Okay, so like lawnmowers and everything, right?
Yeah.
Just everything that was electric.
Yeah.
In this movie, it was just trucks.
Yes.
Real trucks and toy trucks.
And that also made me wonder what constitutes a truck, because it's also pickup trucks, which I don't consider those trucks.
Why?
It's not like an 18-wheeler.
No, but it's still a truck.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's closer to a car, you know? Like some hillbilly that, is driving in his pickup truck and he's about to go to New York City and he sees a bridge and there's the truck lane and the car lane. Is that guy like, oh, I'm a truck? I don't think he is.
I guess you're right. I mean, but it's called a truck, though. So I don't think... I mean, technically, the toy truck is not a truck either, but that still came to life. I think these aliens only care about if the vehicles in English is named truck or called a truck.
So why is there a helicopter at the end?
I hear we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's save that for the end.
Here's a good sign of a good movie. Do you remember the main character's name?
Jack?
That's Jack was not the main
Jack
character.
Was my main character.
Jack was the best character, but he was not the main character.
No, I don't know. I in my notes I wrote Ginger Dad.
Yeah. But yeah, and so the gathering up of the characters, just like the gathering up of the trucks, is all focused around the main location for this tour.
It's more like a weekend excursion type of situation, and she picks them up, and I guess she takes them to where the meteor crashed.
She went to go pick up Jack and the daughter and the army guy from the bus stop, and then the other two showed up in the car. Yeah. And they waited around for an hour. And while they waited around, they decide to have sex. Which was not only one of my favorite scenes of this movie, obviously, but also like just the idea that they're like, she'll be back in like an hour, and so they decide to get some food. They have an argument while they're eating food, and then they're like, you used to be the kind of girl that was into hiking. She's like, well, things change. I get my nails done now. And then he just for some reason is like, well, let's go back inside the cabin, and then they go inside the cabin and start having sex, where she just keeps saying lunar over and over.
And laughing
but also is totally down with still saying lunar over and over again.
I don't understand. Maybe it was a joke because she didn't want to be there, but
and she was aroused by it. Yeah,
but I definitely knew the name of the town after that scene. Because before that, I didn't
you weren't too sure at first,
yeah.
but then you were 100% set on it. I got you. I mean, I'm trying to think. The problem with this movie is that
the problem with this
problem. So you have you have all these characters that none of them really have arcs. Like, nothing really happens to any of them other than they die and stuff like that. But it's not like we learn more about the character. It kind of just continues going. There's no relationship arc. They kind of fake one.
There's a couple throughout. I mean, there's a couple exchanges where not Jack. What's the dad's name again? We don't know. Ginger Dad and Logan, his son.
Yeah.
They talk about the dead mother.
Yeah.
And that was something.
That was something. But that's just like an expositional character.
But nothing
reveal.
came of it, though, because I think Logan was like, I cared about her too. And then Dad was like, well, I got to get my motorcycle or something.
Yeah.
Completely just ignores him.
Yeah.
100%. So you're right. Nothing happens.
Yeah, and the same thing with so Logan and Abby. You could have written in maybe a loving storyline with those two characters, but instead what happens is absolutely nothing, and at the end of it, she's super shell-shocked, and he's like, Abby, it's Logan, do you remember me? And her eyes are fucking dead. Her eyes are dead. She feels nothing when he's hugging her. One of the notes that I wrote was, what is the truck's mission in this? What are they trying to accomplish?
I think they just wanted gas. Because why would they be circling the gas station for fucking for 16 hours? Because the whole time we're thinking why are they here? What do they want? We're hoping to get some answers, and at the end we finally figure out they just want some goddamn gas.
I meant kind of in the bigger sense. Like these aliens have possessed these trucks. What do they want?
Oh. Well, that's never answered. We don't know the answer to that.
You have no answer to that. It kind of reminds me. So the two things that I thought of while watching this movie was, one, the book All You Need Is Kill, where basically all these things that are coming and this main alien invasion that the people in All You Need Is Kill are fighting is really just a byproduct of the aliens terraforming the planet. We don't even see the aliens. They're just terraforming. And what that reminded me of is, have you ever heard the theory of the movie Cars?
The theory of the movie? No. I've heard of the movie Cars.
You've heard? Oh, good.
I might have seen it.
That's a good foundation. I haven't. Okay. But I know all of them. There's 3 of them. Third one comes out soon. But in the movie Cars, that they're cars with eyes and they can talk and they can drive around and everything. Yeah. So the idea is that those are people, okay? And that the Cars world takes place in basically a post-apocalyptic current universe. And so basically we as a culture, basically you could think of it as a sequel to Mad Max, okay? And so how in Mad Max they all have their cars and their trucks and they get inside them and they're driving around, and that's how you traverse this horrible wasteland. And so the idea is that slowly over time you become more and more dependent on your car, to the point where you almost never leave your car because the world starts getting so fucked up that you can't be outside in the world. And so it gets to a point where your body starts to mold with the car, and then you actually become part car yourself. And so the idea is that the cars in the movie Cars are us. And so basically once they've fully developed as these humanoid cars, that's when they start rebuilding the remnants of the society.
Okay, that was going to bring that up because their world seems pretty nice.
Yeah.
in cars.
And so as soon as they become able to live in the world that's around them, they start to rebuild.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
And so while I was watching that, I was like, maybe one of those people watched this movie because, intelligent cars.
So you're saying Cars was inspired
by trucks.
By trucks.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think it's possible, at least. Yeah. Or not. Or not. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I would hope nothing was inspired by this movie.
So there's a whole bunch of things that I had with this movie where it's like no one seems to be concerned with trying to figure out what the rules are. No one's like, okay, there's a truck. Can I ride a motorcycle? I drive a station wagon. Can I get in my station wagon? The Lunar Express is a van. Could I take the Lunar Express?
None of the characters are really concerned with anything. Like
anything.
And in fact, they're completely dumbfounded every time something new happens. Or things that have already happened.
Yes.
So they see a car driving by itself multiple times. And you pointed this out. The reaction every time is, what? What?
Is when the guy's driving down the highway and the truck is bashing into the back of him. He's going, what the hell, man? What the hell?
It's rude, dude.
There's no one inside that car. You should be more concerned than that. But once again, they have a motorcycle. You could try taking the motorcycle out or realize that the motorcycle isn't sentient. And that one guy from the couple that are having sex, and she's like, ooh, lunar. The guy from that, who knows what his name is, we find out later, works for the military and might be involved with some of the goings on. He decides to rebuild a pickup truck, and since that is a truck, it kills him.
It kills him, yeah.
What I'm saying is, like, why didn't they figure out when they were inside the diner? Why didn't they put it together that it's just trucks?
Yeah. I don't know. And the filmmakers don't help the audience out at all either. I mean, they don't give us any clues. They break rules, in fact, because we think it's only trucks. And we established that there was a big poison gas explosion.
Yeah.
So I guess the government, someone sends a hazmat team, hazmat truck.
Yeah.
The truck somehow, so let me backtrack a little bit. They have hazmat suits that are attached to these air ventilators in the back of the truck. The truck turns the ventilator on, causing the suit to blow up with air, and then the truck is able to control the suit. Essentially a balloon.
Yeah.
To murder both of the hazmat team.
Yeah.
With an axe.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. Is it anything? I guess if it's attached to the truck.
Yeah.
But at the point where the suit walks away from the ventilator, wouldn't the suit not work anymore? Or if it's attached to the hose?
Well,
maybe?
it was still attached to the hose, and that's why it continued going. But that brings up an interesting question, or an interesting thought that I just had. Could a whole army of fire trucks get together and they extend their hoses and fill them up with water and then tie the hoses together to make some sort of giant hose man, and then maybe they could attack a town with like that?
Tentacles or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Because as soon as you're controlling air, basically,
it's anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, it kind of took the Stephen King idea. When Stephen King directed Maximum Overdrive, he kind of was like, fucking anything can be anything. And that's what makes it more crazy and exciting, because it's literally any electronic appliance.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
This is like they establish it's just trucks, but then they like kind of break it in a few ways for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Because there's the video game. Not the video game.
Video game.
The video game truck. It's Lawnmower Man. No, the RC truck that kills a guy, and
so
I don't think that's a truck.
So okay, let me ask you this: what was the point of that scene? What was that scene? Like, so it's a character we never see before that point.
Yeah.
We don't see after because he dies.
So I think it's to establish that Lunar is a town, and so it shows more than one location.
Okay.
And then it honestly felt like they just wrote a really cool death.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was
debatable.
the coolest death.
It was the most entertaining death in the entire movie.
I guess this was the gore I read about before watching this movie.
Yeah. I also like that as it pulled away, more and more blood and guts kept getting on the truck. Like, it just kept magically
It's a
piling
cool
on
idea.
more and more.
That's what I'm saying. The movie could have been that.
Yeah.
It could have been more things than just trucks.
And that's the thing, they're saying that the radios are out, the phones are out, the truck-style phones.
But
it
isn't also implying, like, whatever is controlling the trucks are also controlling the TV, right?
And that's what I was going to say, is how do they keep getting these television broadcasts if everything else is out?
And why would the aliens want them to have more information about the situation? Like, why? Like, what's the purpose of feeding them that?
And that's why I'm saying that's kind of like all you need is kill. It kind of just feels like this is a byproduct of something and not an actual mission. Like, it just so happened that a comet passed Earth. It just so happened that it hit this town. And it just so happened that all these things happened.
Can we talk about how these trucks see the world? Because at certain points, the movie seems to be telling us they rely on their mirrors to see, which doesn't make any sense, because how would they even drive?
I wrote down when the diner owner sees the mirror follow a guy, it twists around. He goes. He's like, "What was that?" It could have been the wind. I mean, it didn't look that securely put on. Yeah. But I just enjoyed the fact that he saw that one thing and he was like, what is that? He was that concerned about that one thing. But yeah, so you think that they see with mirrors, which wouldn't make sense because they would have to face the mirrors forwards.
That's one of the first things we see in the movie is a side mirror turning around or moving.
Yeah.
So then we think, okay, that's how they see.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting.
Especially because when the character that dies in the beginning of the film, when that truck leaves, it pulls up to the road and it extends its mirror out abnormally far and then tilts it around to look back and forth.
Yeah.
And so you definitely are thinking, so those are its eyes and it can control them.
Which would be fine. That's a cool, like, they established it, but then for the rest of the movie, the trucks don't need the mirrors to see or drive, right?
Yeah, and then they also, so the one scene, we find out that not only did the chef of the diner, not only was he in a few wars, but also he used to be a cop, and so he goes out to give them their fighting chance to go off and get rescued. And when he goes off and he's shooting at the trucks, he shoots at one of their lights, and that hurts the truck. And that's what causes it to veer off.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's why I asked the question. Because at that point in the movie, you're like, wait, are there headlights? Is this a car situation? Like in the movie Cars where the headlights are their eyes?
We don't know.
We don't know. We will never know.
Yeah.
So there are no rules.
There are no rules.
There are no rules. There are no answers.
Yeah. Jack was my favorite. I was super bummed when Jack died.
Yeah, so Jack is a former hippie.
He's still a hippie and a bookstore owner.
But he doesn't smoke pot anymore. He's just a very out there man.
Yeah.
I mean, everything he says the whole movie. At one point, he just picks up dirt and just like...
and he blows it in his hand. What was
your favorite quote by him?
Yeah.
I forget what the context was, but they're talking about war. And Jack says, I try not to let myself process wars. Or I don't process wars. One of like what?
My number one favorite line from this whole movie is from the two hillbilly trucker guys, and the one guy goes, the government's trying to take over everything. and then at the very end of the movie, when they're they've run away and they're lying in the grass and they're just still unsure what's gonna happen. They're like, we're gonna sleep here for the night, and then Hope says, this could be the beginning of a world covered in rust.
So shortly after that scene, the movie cuts to a like a telephone truck.
Yeah.
You remember this part of the movie?
Yeah.
It's very similar to the toy truck scene, and that has nothing to do with any other part of the movie.
Yeah.
It's a pretty quick scene. The guy's on his like, what's it called, cherry picker, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's fixing a transformer, I guess, from the outage earlier, and the truck, of course, comes to life, and kind of just jiggles him until he falls out of it and he gets electrocuted.
And he molds to the transformer.
And he molds the another good death.
Yeah.
But it seems like the two best deaths in the movie had nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah.
You would think they would make an effort to incorporate the characters they establish at the gas station. Instead, they pick two other characters that we never see before.
Reshoots.
You think reshoots? Possibly.
I think it's the same thing with, Fred the movie, where they just got to a point where they're like, man, this running time isn't long enough. Let's go shoot some more stuff.
Yeah, it was about an hour.
And so
hour and 25 minutes.
Those two extra scenes,
I really tipped it over.
Not only brought it up to the time period that they needed to have it be, but also, I would say, elevated the movie. Both of those scenes are great. They have nothing to do with anything, but they're both great scenes.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably in my top 10 favorite scenes of the movie. The toy truck being number one.
Oh yeah, toy truck's number one.
That was a good one.
The movie feels built around that scene.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been one of the characters at the gas station. If they had it set in the town, not at just the gas station.
They could have had the fucking mailman show up at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and just give
delivering mail.
Yeah.
And then we don't see him for a while. Yeah. And then it shows up later, him delivering more mail. And we'd be like, oh yeah, the mailman, he's still delivering mail. It's a long day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And we don't see the toy truck again either.
that was I did bring that up. I was like, they have to show all the different trucks in the different areas so that they can all congregate together, and then
half of them don't even show up.
They didn't show
the
up.
hazmat truck doesn't show up. The telephone truck doesn't show up. That was at the end, but still, you would think we would see it earlier in the movie.
I was legitimately excited for the idea of that hazmat truck showing up and the hazmat air
being like walking
Gollum,
around.
Yeah, like walking around and like coming after them with an axe, and they'd be like, "No, what the fuck is happening?"
Yeah. But nothing.
I've no more notes.
See,
for this
the problem
movie.
with this movie, there's a lot of it's terrible.
Yeah,
we both know it's terrible. But there really isn't anything there, plot-wise, to talk about.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate, because it's a really bad movie and it's funny.
Yeah,
it's funny bad, but there's just nothing going on. Like, at least Fred was terrible, but there was a plot,
and there was so much going on.
There was tons of stuff going on. I mean, this movie is literally trucks driving in circles. I mean, how many shots of the trucks driving in circles?
Yeah.
That might have been 20 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
This was my pick too. Oops.
That's fine.
And they killed Jack. in the lamest way. You're trying to save the Hot Topic girl.
When the dad carries Hot Topic girl away, though, that's kind of the greatest thing of all time. When it was just a dummy.
Booth. She was in a phone booth.
Yeah.
Why was she in the phone booth again?
She wanted to try calling someone
because the phones in the store weren't working, so she decided to go out. Where are the cars?
No, I think that was during the scene when the trucks were trying to call people, and they were like, the trucks are calling people on the phone.
Oh, that was my favorite line.
And so I think what it was is that because the trucks were able to call people, she then heard the payphone go off.
And she wanted to answer.
And she wanted to answer the payphone.
The trucks are dialing phones now.
The trucks are dialing phones. And that was the one thing that I kept thinking of. I was just like, what's that truck going to say once it gets a hold of someone? Even if it can dial a phone. You know? What's the next step to that?
Oh, man.
I just really want to talk about the end a whole bunch, to be honest.
Okay, let's get into the end.
Just because... So, one, clearly they had a lot of difficulty operating that helicopter and making it look like there wasn't someone flying in it. Because every shot of it flying in, you could see there was someone in there.
It was a fake out because...
And so when the helicopter showed up, I said jokingly, "Oh, is a helicopter a truck?" And then sure enough, at the end of the movie, the helicopter is indeed a truck. And so it has been possessed by this alien cosmic energy and is also sentient.
See, I think a boat would have worked better in that scene. Because you could have obscured...
Because boats are closer to trucks than...
Well, not even that, but like the very nature of a helicopter, like the front floor panels are usually glass. Like you could see, it's hard to... What do you mean?
What helicopters are you talking about?
There's like the front windshield and then the bottom parts of the floor are kind of... What are you shaking your head for?
You're talking about like 1960s movie helicopters.
No, this helicopter.
I'm just...
What I'm saying is...
Not even that helicopter. That helicopter had a regular floor panel.
What I'm saying is you could see the pilot's head and like his legs. You could see... It's hard to obscure the pilot in a helicopter.
You're literally talking about 1960s helicopters.
No, I'm not.
Though.
Look it up right now.
I'm not going to look it up right now because I know
Well, regardless, what I'm saying is...
If you Googled helicopter...
What I'm saying is
what you're talking about wouldn't show up.
They could have avoided that whole thing where you saw the guy piloting.
If it was a boat.
It was a boat. Just make it a boat. And they escape the land vehicle on a boat. And then they get in the boat and it's, oh my God, the boat's alive too.
That's a good point also.
I was just thinking. I don't know.
I think...
Like, it was, you know...
It would have to be a big boat. There's a reason that I'm saying that. It's not just me being stupid.
Like, how big are we talking? Cruise ship?
I'm talking cruise ship. You know, just because of the fact that if you saw a little, you know, a boat that you would see that, I don't know, somebody's dad had, and it's like a little skipper, which has, you know, like 4 seats in it. You're going to know immediately that no one's driving that boat. But if it's a big boat, you're not going to know immediately.
This is true.
You know?
All right, so big boat.
No, that's what I'm saying, like a big boat.
But they don't have a budget for that.
No.
They blew their budget. But, I don't know. It was a weird move. But,
yeah,
it was a good shock. You weren't even watching the movie at that time. You missed that scene. You were like...
I rewound it. I rewound it just because I wanted to hear that line, "Logan, it's me, Abby." And she's just fucking shell-shocked.
She's just flailing.
She's fucking dead inside.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Dead fish, Abby. There is literally nothing else to say about this movie.
Yeah. I feel bad.
You feel bad?
For how much editing I'm going to have to do to this episode.
Just cut out the entire helicopter. Yeah, this was a bad pick.
I thought it was going to be good.
I thought it was going to be funny. And you kept saying it was going to be
funny.
Awesome. The movie was kind of funny. but there's a lot of dead air in that movie. There's a lot of parts of that movie where it was just like, really good, funny scene, and then just trucks driving in circles.
Yeah.
Whereas Fred, again, I hate to keep going back to Fred as our standard on this podcast, but that didn't stop, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a better movie.
Fred's a better movie.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to just end it there?
Yeah, we can, unless you have anything else to say.
I have nothing else to say about this movie. Right. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Next week we're gonna do Lizzie Borden Took an Axe.